In a small village on the warm, sunny day, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it different scents from around the village corners. It was the perfect weather for Aluko to go to the market and buy food for her and her children back home. Since it was market day, there was a variety of options to choose from, but Aluko was also mindful of the fact that on such days, things could go very wrong. Market days often brought both blessings and dangers, and she knew well that one had to be cautious. Aluko wore her sandals, waved goodbye to the children, and headed to the market. When she arrived, the market was bustling with life. There were traders calling out their prices, customers hanging, and children running around laughing. Among the many stalls, there was one that stood out, a woman named Minaji. Now, Minaji sold a delicious okra soup that everyone enjoyed. Whoever came to the market always stopped by her stall, for there was none like her soup anywhere in town. Minaji's success had made her the busiest vendor, and with that came very many enemies, especially from the other women who sold okra soup as well. After finishing her shopping, Aluko decided to stop by Minaji's stall. She was given a large bowl of the famed soup, and with every spoonful, her face radiated with satisfaction. She ate and ate until the bowl was empty. Feeling content, she stood up and paid Minaji. But before leaving, she couldn't resist asking, "What makes your soup so special? Can you share your recipe with me?" Minaji smiled, a glint of something mysterious in her eyes. "It's a family recipe," she replied. "One I can't share with just anyone. But since you're my biggest customer, I'll make an exception. However, we'll have to go to my house for that. I can't risk my competitors overhearing this conversation." Aluko agreed and decided to follow Minaji back to her home. Little did she know that one of the other women who sold soup had overheard the conversation and decided to follow them secretly, hoping to learn the recipe for herself. This woman, driven by greed, believed that if she could steal the secret, she would soon have the biggest customer base in the market. Minaji, carrying her gigantic pot of soup on her head, led Aluko down a narrow winding road. The path seemed endless, and with each step, Aluko felt a chill run down her spine. The road was lonely, and the farther they walked, the more Aluko began to feel uneasy. Unknown to her, the other lady trailed behind, careful not to make a sound. Finally, Minaji stopped. "We've arrived," she said, setting down her heavy pot. "Come inside, Aluko. Let me prepare some tea for you. I'll share my recipe." Aluko hesitated for a moment. "I must return to my children soon," she said. But the desire to know the secret of Minaji's soup overcame her. She followed the woman into the small, dimly lit hut. Outside the window, the other lady crouched, peering inside with anticipation, her heart raced with excitement, as she thought about the customers she would gain once she knew the secret recipe. Inside Minaji's hut, she made a cup of tea and began to speak to Aluko. "Now I will reveal my recipe." She pulled out a knife from a hidden corner, her eyes gleaming with something darker than before. "Close your eyes," she instructed Aluko. "This will only take a minute." Aluko, still trusting Minaji, obeyed, but as she closed her eyes, she felt Minaji suddenly pounce on her, forcing her to the ground with a strength that surprised her. Minaji, with a swift motion, slit Aluko's hand, letting her blood flow into the large pot that had been set on the floor. Aluko screamed in pain and terror, her cries echoing through the hut as Minaji collected the blood, her face twisting into a sinister smile. "This is the price you pay," Minaji muttered. "The price of power, the price of success." As Aluko's vision blurred and her strength drained, the struggle to stay cautious was on. Meanwhile, outside, the other lady had witnessed everything through the window. She trembled with fear, but was also filled with a sense of dread and guilt. What had she been thinking? What kind of secret recipe was this? Suddenly, a loud clash from outside startled Minaji. and the door to the hut swung open. Standing in the doorway was Adebayo, the wise village elder. His eyes were steady and full of authority. He had come with him 2 other guards from the palace. "You?" Minaji hissed, her voice filled with panic. "You should not have followed me here." The elder stepped into the hut, his calm presence overwhelming the chaos of the moment. "Minaji, your dark secrets have been known for too long." At that moment, the other lady who had been frozen outside in fear found her voice. "She's a witch? She was going to kill Aluko," she shouted. Adebayo nodded. "Yes, Minaji has been using the blood of her customers to keep her secret recipe, offering their life force in exchange for prosperity." He turned toward Minaji, his face grim. "Your magic is no longer welcome here. The village will no longer be controlled by fear." Minaji, desperate now, tried to summon the dark forces she had relied on for years, but the elder's power was greater. With a simple wave of his hand, the magic in the room began to dissipate. The pot of soup that had once simmered with dark energy began to bubble violently, turning black and releasing a thick, suffocating smoke. Minaji tried to fight, but it was useless. Her dark powers were unraveling. Outside the hut, the villagers, now aware of what had transpired, gathered armed with torches and filled with righteous anger. They stormed into the hut, surrounding Minaji and the elder. Adebayo spoke, his voice commanding and resolute. "The village has been under your spell for long enough, Minaji. It is time for this evil to end." With a final desperate scream, Minaji tried to flee, but the elder's magic had already bound her. She was no longer a threat to the village. Aluko, though weakened, was revived by the healers who arrived with the villagers. Her wounds were tended to, and soon she was awake, surrounded by her children and the people she had always loved. The village had come together, united in the face of evil. From that day forward, the market flourished in peace. The vendors, no longer bound by fear or greed, traded freely. Aluko, her faith in the community restored, became a beloved figure in the village. And as of Minaji, she was gone, her dark powers vanquished, her secrets exposed. The village, once gripped by fear, now stood strong, and the market, vibrant and full of life, became a place of joy and unity, where no one would ever have to pay the price of a bowl of soup again.